still not subscribed to Matt's channel? Well, if you're not, hit the subscribe button because he's giving out free picks each and every week. Hope you have a good rest of your day.
Super Bowl 59. Yes, it's that time of the year, guys. February means Super Bowl, and New Orleans is hosting the 59th Super Bowl, making it the 11th time they actually hope. I didn't realize that at all. You know, when I do my research, check history and stuff, 11 times they've hosted the big game. And this is their 8th time at the Superdome, right? Superdome obviously is where the Saints play. This is actually tied, guys, tied for the most times a team has hosted, or a city has hosted the Super Bowl, tied with Miami. Interesting, right? Two good destinations, right? That's kind of why. You know, weather's usually pretty good. A great city, high energy type of city, good for events and a Super Bowl. Good vibes out there, obviously great food, etc. So, yeah, it kind of does make sense, right? Miami and New Orleans. Systemsportscapping.com or link.me/systemcapping for client comments over the years, resume, records, client subscriptions, and more. Currently handicapping, of course, the Super Bowl, PGA, UFC, and the NHL at a little lower volume. Nice conference finals, hitting on a bunch of tickets. Chiefs and Eagles on both of them to make the Super Bowl. That did happen. Had a nice two-teamer there at plus money. We also cashed on the over Eagles and Washington game. That one went way over. You know, shout out to the Eagles. Big time performance. The lights were a little too bright for the Commanders. Big game, big situation. That Eagles defense continues to play well, get some turnovers. They got turnovers, right? Was it 3-4 turnovers, right? You can't turn the ball over and win games in the playoffs. I mention that all the time, guys. That's what happened to Washington there. And obviously their defense showed what their defense usually plays, right? This is the defense that we expected, right? All year, obviously they came up big against the Lions and a few other games. But this is the kind of the defense we kind of expected. It's not a great defense on paper, guys, let's be honest, for Washington, even though they did have a couple good games there towards the end of the year. And when you need to, right? When you need to play well. Chiefs, right? They get it done. They find ways to win close games. That's just the story. There's nothing changed, right? Refs maybe helped them out a bit. And you do got to factor into your handicap, right? They just find ways to win. And back in the Super Bowl, it's not surprising, right? When you put all that together with the refs and the coaching staff and Mahomes, and just their team in general finding ways to win games, they're just very difficult to beat, guys. We'll talk about that in the matchup here shortly. Like this video if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, please just review or share or save it to your favorites. It does help out a ton. Let's hear from my friend Kristen before we get into this matchup.
For you sports bettors out there, let's be honest, you probably need a little bit of help beating those books. System Capping is a proven long-term winner against the sports betting market in multiple sports. He's built a worldwide clientele due to his high winning percentage over the years. Be sure to click the link on the bio down here to check out his profile, and you can also find out his resume, client comments, podcasts, and subscription opportunities. I'm going to be following him along too, so let's win some money together this season.
Let's get into the matchup, guys. I'll go a little different than normal videos where I'll kind of break down their season, the matchup, how we got here, talk about the betting lines as well later on here. So, you know, at the start of the year, it wouldn't have been absurd to predict these two teams in the Super Bowl, right? You know, the NFC may be a little more wide open, very kind of tough to predict. The Eagles would get there. The Chiefs, obviously not. They were the favorites to win the Super Bowl, right? Plus 500 at the start of the year. Eagles plus 1,400 outright market start of the year. Obviously, you know, I didn't have the Eagles in the finals. I thought maybe the Lions, maybe even San Fran. But we saw what happened with San Fran, right? 49ers got hurt early in the year, and they underachieved. Even when they kind of got guys back, they did not play well together. Very surprising, the 49ers season there. Right? Then the Lions got beat as 9.5-point favorites at home to Washington, right? So there goes the two other big giants, and here we are. Here we are. The Eagles are the team out of the NFC, guys. Philadelphia Eagles, 17-3 on the year, including the playoffs. What an offseason it was for the Eagles, right? I think that was their secret sauce, or the secret to their success. Great offseason for this team, right? Adding Saquon Barkley. Let's be honest. That's proved to be the big difference, key, and the reason probably why they're here. But also along with that defense, which we'll talk about here shortly. Let's listen to this, right? Barkley stats and highlights. 2,005 rushing yards first. 345 carries first. Averaged 125.3 rushing yards per game. 15 TDs. He needed only 101 yards to break Dickerson's 40-yard rushing record. I'm still upset he didn't play because he would have got it against his old team too. What were the odds that he would get hurt? Low odds. But maybe it paid off because, look, they're here in the Super Bowl, right? You never know what would have happened. Never know what would happen in that game. So I would have loved to see it. It would have been the perfect season, right? It would have been like historical. You could do a movie type on that, right? Playoffs, 5 TDs. Packers, 119 yards he had. Rams, 205 yards. Commanders, 118 yards. Unbelievable. Guaranteed over 100 yards you could bet on this guy. The props were moving, though. I've seen like 115, and sometimes those are tough to get to, the over. But you can see he probably went over on all the playoff props because they're all in 111, 115 range. We're just lucky enough to witness this outstanding performance from a running back, one of the best you'll ever see, guys. Best you'll ever witness. Hats off to Barkley. We all been watching it this year, and it's definitely a treat, right? You don't see this a ton. Let's talk about some other key additions from the Eagles, right? First and second round picks really panned out for them, right? Quinton Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. There's incredible rookie seasons for both corners. I think DeJean maybe moved to safety too sometimes, but drafted as corner, both corners. And this is what they needed. They needed corner help. You saw what happened last year. Right? Mitchell finished 8th out of 118 corners. I'm going off PFF. We know it's not always super accurate, but it's good for the most part. And Cooper DeJean was even better at 3rd, guys. So 8th and 3rd ranked PFF graded guys for defensive grade as rookies. That's pretty impressive, right? Both draft picks were key contributors to one of the best defenses in the NFL. So it's just very important you hit on these early picks in the draft. Can't stress that enough. Super important, right? Listen to some of these stats in case you guys may not know, right? Most people are seeing Barkley run for 150 yards and touchdowns and highlights of the tush push, etc. But their defense is a big reason why they're here, guys, right? Total yards allowed, first, 289. Yards per play allowed, first, 5. Rushing yards allowed, 10th, 104.4. Yards per rush, 9th. Passing yards allowed, first, 184 only. Completion percentage, 6, 61.8. QB rating, second, 78.5, and then points allowed 6 at 17.9. These are the stats not a lot of people know about, the casual. This is a big reason why, not just Barkley running wild, the defense carried them to the Super Bowl, in my opinion. And this wouldn't be a complete breakdown of their defense if I didn't talk about Zach Bond. What a story, this guy. I did a lot of research on this guy. Unbelievable. Before the Eagles signed him, right, this year, a small contract, 1 year, $3.5 million. He was playing special teams for the Saints. Got a few snaps here and there, a linebacker as well, but very limited. They took a flyer on this guy, let's be honest, right? They took a flyer, 1 year, $3.5 million. I believe they didn't maybe expect him to start. Maybe they did because I know they were thin at linebacker. But if you're paying 1 year, $3 million, do you expect him to start? Maybe not, right? But he showed up in training camp, I'm sure, and that's why he got that chance. He finished 3rd in the NFL with 93 solo tackles, guys. Second with 5 forced fumbles, and received the first overall grade from PFF with a 90.2 defensive grade. Talk about a bargain, right? Talk about a bargain. Bond is up for Defensive Player of the Year. Bond is up for Defensive Player of the Year off a 1-year, $3.5 million contract. He's going to get a big contract in the offseason. I don't know if they're going to be able to sign him. That's unfortunate. But they might, because they know that he's a big part of that defense and the reason why they made it this far. It'll be interesting to see if they can match a big contract out there, but I think this is one of the most underrated stories of this team. A lot of people probably didn't know that. So hopefully you learned something there on that side. Let's talk about the Chiefs here. 17-2. The three-peat is on the line, guys, for the Chiefs on Sunday, and they can be the first team ever to complete it. Nobody is surprised the Chiefs are back here, right? Let's be honest. I hope they weren't back here, but no surprise, right? You know, most who aren't Chiefs fans don't want to see this. Let's be honest, guys. Let's be honest with ourselves. I want to see someone new in there, right? The Ravens, the Bills, they had a shot, choked in the playoffs once again. It's just very impressive how the Chiefs continue to make it back here, continue to play well in the playoffs. We're witnessing a dynasty, let's be honest. You know, we all remember the Patriots years with Brady. Doesn't this seem very familiar, right? You know, the Chiefs have reached a conference championship in 7 straight seasons, guys, dating back to 2018. It's just very impressive. Just a great organization, right? They know how to win games. You know, they also played in 5 Super Bowls in the last 6 years, winning 3 with 1 pending. Let's not forget that one of those Super Bowl wins was against the Eagles, right? Let's not forget that. In Super Bowl 57, just a few Super Bowls ago, the Chiefs beat the Eagles 38-35 in a high-scoring thriller. Don't forget that, guys. You know, unlike the Eagles, you know, I don't have a list of good signings in the offseason. Really, they brought in like Hopkins in the middle of the season, not really turning out to be that much of a factor. Let's be honest here. Their draft wasn't great. They had Worthy, yes, a good addition, of course, but he's been inconsistent, right, throughout the year. Had some good games, though, recently in the playoffs, so I do have to give him a shout. And he's that factor, right? He's a guy you got to watch out of whether he's gone for a 40-yard run or a big catch. So definitely a good draft pick. They stole him from Buffalo. So that's definitely a good draft pick for them. They needed another sort of weapon. And no one's really talking about Marquise Brown kind of coming back. He was out all year. He's coming back now. A little bit of a factor, not really, but he's just another guy you need to watch out there, right? They just win with different players on offense, right? Guys like Noah Gray. Guys like Kareem Hunt are bringing back, right? It's just all these guys, they have different options, right? It's not always the Kelsey show anymore, right? They have different off. You've even seen Juju Smith-Schuster have a good game against Buffalo. Couple big catches, right? So you never know who's really going to get the targets or who's going to get that big play because they do have multiple weapons. And obviously, you know, just very well coached from top to bottom. Obviously Andy Reid, but just everyone. Spagnuolo. I'm sure all the special team coaches are great as well. Right? I don't really know too much about them, but just overall, the coaching staff is just unbelievable, and they've been together for a while now. Right? When you look at the stats, though, right, you don't think this is a best team in the league, Super Bowl type of caliber team. They're not pretty on the offensive side of the ball, right? Total yards, 323, 16th. Right? Yards per play, 5.3, 23rd. Rushing yards per game, 103.9, 22nd. Points, 23.2, 15th. Nothing flashy, nothing impressive there, guys. Nothing in the top 10. But the defensive side of the ball, you know, they make big plays when it matters, right? They don't turn the ball over as well on offense. That's all the keys for this team, right? They limit teams to 19.4 points per game on defense, 4th in the NFL. There we go, right? There's some signs of good stats. They were top 10 in total yards allowed and against the run. So that's what's important stats there on the defensive side of the ball. This is why you don't just look at offensive stats and flashy stats, right? That's not always something that you have to look at. Like, if you want to do that, you look at the Lions, you look at the Ravens, you look at the Bills. They're not here. Keys to the game. Let's talk about a couple of keys of the game, guys. Can the Chiefs limit Saquon Barkley, right? You don't want Barkley running for 150 and 2 TDs. Otherwise, the Eagles probably in the game and a good chance to win the game. So it'd be interesting to see how their defense plays Barkley. I don't think they're going to stack the box. They have a good run D, so I don't believe they have to. I don't think they're going to have to change too much on defense, but it'll be interesting. Try to see if Hurts can beat them in the air. I think that should be kind of the game plan for the Chiefs. Let Hurts beat you, not Barkley. Fun fact here, Vic Fangio, Eagles defensive coordinator, right? Can he overcome Mahomes? He is 0-8 versus Patrick Mahomes in his career, right? He coached for Denver a lot, another team I can't remember as well, but can he throw something different in coverages to limit, confuse Mahomes, to cause turnovers, etc.? The team with the most turnovers in this game probably is going to win the game, let's be honest, right? Unless it's like 1-0, right? Like if one team has the turnover, the other team doesn't, you still win the game. But you're going in that 2-3 territory type of turnover, you're probably not going to win this game, guys. Let's be honest. Let's be honest, right? Turnover battle. Let's talk about the turnovers on the year for these guys. Let's see. If you have, just looking at a couple stats here that I wrote down. Eagles were second in the NFL on the year in turnover margin per game, plus 1.1. Fourth in forced fumbles and 13th in interceptions. Good stats there. The Chiefs struggled to create turnovers this season. 11th in the NFL at 0.3 turnover margin per game. 30th in forced fumbles and 16th in interceptions. So they're not getting a lot of turnovers, but they don't turn the ball over a lot, right? So keep that in mind. Patrick Mahomes had 11 interceptions on the year, improving from last year's 14, which was the most of his career, but he's still getting interceptions. You can pick him off. He does force throws at times. Jalen Hurts had a very good year from the interception standpoint, only 5 on the season. He did miss a few games, keep in mind. A vast improvement from his 15 last year. He had 15 turnovers last year, did not have a great year. The Chiefs led the NFL with the least fumbles, as I mentioned, 0.7 per game. Eagles were 9th in the NFL and had 1.1 fumbles per game. So maybe the Chiefs can find one there. Let's talk about the betting market quickly, guys. Chiefs minus 1.5. Total 59.5. With sports betting being as big as ever, right? You're going to have probably 1.5 billion expected probably in the States alone. Right, worldwide, you're probably reaching close to 10, because I know last year worldwide it was like 7.38. So reaching probably close to 10. Just because there's so many fun props out there. You're going to have the Taylor Swift crowd out there betting her props. How many times are they going to show her? What is she wearing? Just crazy stuff out there, right? Gatorade colors, etc. Coin tosses. People have fun. People like to get together and with their friends and bet on these type of props. That's why you see this, right? Super Bowl attracts the most casual bettors. This is why you see big numbers like this. Let's talk about the point spread. We have seen slight movement on the spread, right? It opened up at -2 and then quickly saw Eagles money come in. It went down to as much as -1 for the Chiefs. However, it sits around -1.5 now in most markets. Super Bowl favorites are 27 and 29 ATS, guys. Keep that in mind. Underdogs are 12 and 5 ATS in the last 17 Super Bowls. Chiefs are 9 and 10 on the year ATS, and Eagles are 9 and 11 on the year ATS. So it's tough to say, right? It's 1.5. It's pretty much just win the game. The odds of them winning just by 1's a low percentage. So a little tough here. You don't see a lot of Super Bowls 1.5. So take that with a grain of salt, in my opinion. Total did not move that much, if at all. 49.5. Even with these two good defenses, we're seeing almost 50 points here. Obviously, some recency bias. 56 points, 55 points that the Eagles just scored. And Chiefs scored 32 the most of the season, so keep that in mind. That's why, right? And we did see what happened in the first Super Bowl. These two played against each other a couple years ago. Went way over. So, overs 28, 28, and 1 in the Super Bowl. Very even, right? So, can't go off anything there. And Super Bowl 57 between these two, 73 points total, guys. Keep that in mind. I expect this game to be very competitive, one-score game that comes down to the end. Just like we saw in Super Bowl 57, right? The Chiefs are the rightful favorites here due to the ability to win the big game, their experience in the Super Bowl, and their coaching edge. Obviously, they'll have a QB edge with Mahomes as well. Also, the chance to make it a three-peat should also be factored into the handicap this weekend. History could be made. When you have a quarterback like Mahomes who's been in this spot so often in his young career, 17-3 playoff records, just unbelievable, guys. It's hard not to back the favorites here in the Chiefs. I personally would love to see them lose. I'm not a Chiefs fan. You guys know that. But I haven't seen them lose often in this type of scenario, in this spot. So if I were to bet a side here, it would only be the Chiefs. I have no other way to look at it. But hey, I would love to see the Eagles win this game, right? I would love to see them win this game. We want to see someone new win the Super Bowl, right? Let's be honest here, guys. Unless you're a Chiefs fan, of course. Unless you're a Chiefs fan. I know I have a couple Chiefs fans that listen to this podcast. You know who you are. A couple player props to look at, guys. Just for fun. Barkley, anytime touchdowns, always out there. Kelsey, always a nice look out there as well. I found an interesting one. Hopkins, over 10.5 reception yards. That's one catch probably. I know he's not factored in much, and I always talk about it. Their offense is kind of hard to predict who's going to get the big catches of the game because there's so many weapons. I get that. But he's a reliable source to get you a big catch, right? He can catch the ball, Hopkins, right? Veteran guy. So one catch pretty much this goes over. Good look there. I'll probably be betting that for clients. Some niche player props. Obviously, Gatorade color I like to have a little fun with. If you do like the Chiefs, last 2 years it was purple. Keep that in mind for the Chiefs. They won the Super Bowl back last 2 years. Both the times it was purple. This team must love purple Gatorade. What can I say? That will do it, guys. That will do it. Super Bowl week's always fun. I got this video and podcast out a little earlier for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Changed it up a little bit this year. It's going to be fun. Enjoy the Super Bowl, enjoy the food and the friends and family if you do watch it with them. Like I always say, guys, bet smart and know your limits. Enjoy the Super Bowl.